Welcome to the Hot Rod Hangout Podcast.
Whoop whoop.
I'm Matt,
And I'm Ashley.
and it's just the two of us again tonight.
Oh yeah.
This has been a kind of stressful week, and didn't really want to schedule a guest because we didn't really know what was going on. But everyone that tuned into the live or listened to the live after the fact and heard me say a little silent prayer request, I appreciate everybody that did that. It looks like everything is going to be fine for this week. There's some stuff going on next week, so continue to pray for our family.
Yeah.
But it looks like it's all going to be good. So happy to say that. We got that out of the way. No more sullen, saddy stuff. So it's Thursday.
It is Thursday.
And I haven't done anything since this weekend, or since Tuesday. So
Well, that's okay.
nothing new has changed on the Model A. Did get to sit down with someone. Will remain nameless for right now. Hopefully we can have him on a podcast. He's a little busy working on another project. So hopefully he can get that done, and then we got some big stuff coming.
And he's local.
Yeah, he's real local.
Local.
Like, I could ride my groundhog to his house.
We could walk, and we don't walk.
No, we don't walk. No, I got a groundhog. I ain't walking nowhere. But now, I'm excited. Just bench racing with them, or bench building, I guess. Put some thoughts that I didn't know or, never thought about. Because this is the first true chassis or bodied car, all of the above. Right. Mini trucks call it bodying, hot rodders call it channeling. But this will be the first vehicle that I have that will actually lay out.
Yep.
I told the internet that already, so
yeah,
y'all can know that. It's going to be
got
a Model A that lays on the ground.
Oh yeah, and you got some good perspectives on it, and I feel like it was good.
Oh yeah, it was definitely good, and we caught up, talked about a little bit of old time stuff, and he pointed out a bunch of other people that are in the area that are looking for an excuse to drive their shit, and hopefully when he's on, we can talk a little bit more. He told me a funny story about his Passat, but so excited for that. Mother's Day is coming up. Just a reminder for anybody that's listening to this before Sunday. If you listen to it after Sunday, you're too late. Should have called your mom and said happy Mother's Day. So happy Mother's Day to everyone out there. Whether you're, all of us had a mother. Mm-hmm. So no matter where they're at, take a moment to thank them.
For putting up with your BS.
Especially if you're into cars. Your wives, even if they don't have kids, they raise us. So Ashley has a shirt that says, raising my husband's exhausting. It's true. I understand.
Yeah. It's okay. I'm raising my 3 boys.
Yeah.
You and the 2 dogs.
Sometimes those pups get out of hand. They're actually hanging out with us in the podcast room tonight.
Yep. Where's Buckman? Is he under the...
He probably dipped.
No, he did not. He's hiding behind me.
Oh, there you go. So I kind of posed a question to Ashley today on lunch when we were talking, and I said, okay, well, obviously the Model A, Snow White, was kind of my bucket. We've been looking for that car for probably 6 months.
At least.
Obviously, podcast hasn't even been around for 6 months.
And I feel like you've mentioned it so many times in the past about wanting that to be one of your builds. Like, you've been on the hunt for it for probably a year and a half, but just
and it just I didn't think that I was going to be able to get it, and
Yeah.
Other stuff pops up that's more important. Everyone can understand. We did some moving around, hobby change. We're into bikes for, 2009 is when I bought my Harley. Still have the same one. A Deer, a whole bunch of old ladies later. Still got it. Ashley picked the battery up for it today.
Yes, I did.
So we'll be able to get back taking her for a ride and then making a decision whether getting out of bikes for a little while and completely focusing on hot rods, or maybe I'll ride it and fall back in love with it again. And Florida drivers suck.
Yeah.
So that's a big big thing you got to think about. I don't want my hot rod to get run into either, but I'd much rather be inside a metal box than on top of it. So the last couple of times I rode, it wasn't, wasn't what it used to be. So either I'll get the passion back or that bike will be for sale and I'll build a cool hot rod out of whatever comes from it.
Yep.
But I posed the question to Ashley. I said, the Model A was on my list of bucket builds. I definitely didn't think it was going to be next or first. I had big plans even before I got the car. I had big plans for what I wanted to do to it. A lot of conversations, and kind of got strayed away from kind of my build, and I kind of fell into that checklist that I always talk about not falling into, and I kind of fell into it. But talking and soul searching like you do with these classic cars, when stuff's not going exactly the way you want it to, you kind of think about well, am I building it for me or am I building it for other people's approval? And it all comes down to it's mine.
Yep.
Kind of the thought process I've always had when building something was, FU builds. It was, anything I built was always kind of bordering on weird or strange, or why would you do that? Or that doesn't make any sense.
That bike's too old for you.
I bought a bagger when I was 19. And I had a performance bagger before that was a thing. I had all blacked out when everybody was chrome. Like, it was, the bike was built to piss people off, and it did its job. My truck, I had daily an obnoxious truck just because. Yes, I use it for what we do. Anything I hook behind it will pull, it'll pull whatever. I could probably move the mobile home with it if I wanted to.
We're just not going to try.
Unfortunately, I don't like this house enough to move it to another property. But
no,
just kidding. No. So it's building that Model A in a traditional chop channeled, sexy steel wheels, flathead motor. All that traditional stuff is cool, and those cars are badass. I love to see them, but that's not me, and that doesn't piss anybody off,
other than yourself, because you're not being true to yourself.
Right. So I kind of strayed a little bit with a small block. Put a Chevrolet motor in a Ford. But that's a common swap. People do that. So let's make it weird. I'm like, I want a blower. Well, I can't afford a blower, so we got the 3-deuce intake. And so far, as of right now, it'll still have a 3-deuce intake on it. Unless somebody out there wants a Harley and they won't have a, polished 670 or 871 blower. But, anything, and as you progress through building, I might come across something that I think it's going to work the way it was. And that was part of the conversation today was, this is what I think I want. And he has had air ride suspension, he's had hydraulics, he's had static, and he explained to me that the way that I wanted to do the suspension may not be the best way. And I asked why, and he was like, well, because this. And I was like, oh, well, didn't even think of that. And that's part of this community. You know, you talk to somebody that's done it, and they go, oh, well, they point out something that, you know, you can kind of get blinded. There's a lot of vehicles out there that, you know, if you ask the owner and the owner was going to be honest with you, he'd tell you, oh, I'd have done that completely different. Mm-hmm. You know, whether it's interior wise, whether it's seating wise, you know, there's a phrase, stepping over a dollar to make a dime. You know, you do something because you think this is the way it needs to be, but if you just spend an extra 10 minutes or $50, now all of a sudden it's more comfortable or, mm-hmm. you know, better laid out. I was watching a video, I think it was Village Customs, and they were talking about when they build a chassis, they run quarter 20 bolts, studs, every so often down both sides of the inside of the frame rails. You know, both frame rails gets them down the inside. And I was like, why would you do that? And he's like, well, it gives you a mounting point mm-hmm. to hold stuff to the frame. And then, you know, fuel line runs down one side. Electrical and air lines run down the other side. That way, if it grounds out, it doesn't ground out on your fuel line, blow the car up. And I'm like, wow, never even... I'm pretty sure that past projects have had fuel line wrapped in electrical wires. I mean, you know, it was just something that, you know, you don't think about. But guys that build cars all the time mm-hmm. understand, like, hey, so you can learn something from everyone. And I'm super, super excited about what that car could become. But I got on a tangent there.
It's okay.
So the question to Ashley was, you know, what's next? You know, obviously the Model A's on the chopping block right now. That's going to be my build. That build is going to be my, in air quotes, not for sale build. Not saying if somebody didn't bring me a stack full of money, I would dry my tears with $100 bills. You know, everything is for sale, but that one will be expensive. So I asked Ashley. I said, you know, what's next? You know, we have a 32 project. The Model A is going to be kind of an all around build. I want to be able to drive it. I want it to be comfortable to drive. You know, I'm not putting Cadillac plush seats in it, but you know, you can get in that car and you know, put a couple hours behind the steering wheel and be fine. As long as you can get out and stretch your legs every once in a while. So I asked Ashley, I said, what, you know, we have a 54 that Ashley has, or I've given Ashley, you know, it's yours. You can do whatever you want to it, you know, or I'll help you do whatever you want to it. But I do have a requirement for anything that she drives will be reliable. Because I feel like, especially with her new job, I feel like her car doesn't move a whole lot. So there's really no sense in having the Equinox that she quote unquote dailies. You know, I have the Tow Pig that I daily. I'm going to have the Model A. Mm-hmm. So I told Ashley, I said, you know, do you want to build the 54? And her answer was,
nope. and not let me expand on that just a little bit, because the 54 will always have a special place in our hearts. I'm going to speak for both of us.
Yeah, it was the first car we bought together.
Yeah. So, and we worked on it. You know, we put blood, sweat, and fingernails into, and but it was, you know, the first thing that we got to venture on together. So that's always going to hold a special place. It still has the face only a mother can love, and I love that thing. But it's not what I can see as something that I would drive for a long period of time. Even with doing, you know, a whole switcheroony and making it an automatic and doing all this stuff to it and making it so, I don't know, I'm actually able to drive it. Because right now that's a little difficult for me. But I just don't, you know, you got to see yourself driving the vehicle too. And I just don't see myself driving the vehicle for very long. But, you know, it's doing what we need it to do for right now. So moving forward, once we have your bucket list, you know, we're gonna attempt to tackle my bucket list, which will be essentially, like you said, my daily, but I haven't even said what it is yet, but
we'll get there.
But, you know, something to replace the Equinox with. So it's, you know, something I can...
Something reliable, something with the AC, something, you know, that if we need to go somewhere and the dogs need to go, we can load them up.
Yep.
You know, if the future presents something, you know, I've jokingly said, you know, we don't have kids currently, but if that's in the cards, I've jokingly said, I'll just strap them to the back rack of the Model A through the sliding ragtop. I don't think you can get away with that if we're going on a road trip.
I don't think so, no, baby.
But the dogs, you know, the Model A is not going to be load your dogs up friendly.
Yeah.
I mean, probably Buckman, but because he's handheld. But the other one, you know, if he goes, Ashley can't.
Yeah.
So that's kind of in the works, or that's kind of, you know, the way we were thinking about it. So I said, well, you know, like think about what, you know, you want. And there's been a vehicle that has come up numerous times that fits all but a few of those. Ashley really likes the
C10. 63 to, I can't remember.
66. Well, 72.
Yeah.
She really likes that body style of C10 and a fleet side.
Yes.
Well, we could get vintage air for it. We could put an LS in it because it's not sacrilegious because it has a hood. You know, we could make it reliable.
Yeah.
There's no room for dogs.
Nope.
And there's no back seat. So a good compromise for that is a Suburban or a Carryall of the same vintage.
Yep.
You know, still has the same suspension, so we'll still be able to do what we want to do with it. But we can throw AC in it. It's got a back seat. It's got more room. It's obviously going to be more comfortable than a Model A.
Throw the dogs in, go pick up groceries in.
Yes.
Things that I do now with the Equinox. Like right now I'll do anything just to get out of the house, even if it's, do you need something at the gas station? I don't, but I'll go get something.
Yeah.
But those, you know, we are 5 minutes from town, so it's not like, even if I have to run to town for something, I'm not taking 45 minutes to go to Walmart, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, there's other options that may come up because in the quick search for a little bit of time that I had on lunch after this conversation, there's not a whole lot of those available.
Yeah.
But we're also not looking right now. So maybe when it's time to look, we'll have a little more options. Also, with everything else going on, we hope that the podcast is continuing to grow, and which means further show coverage.
Yep.
So we're going to be places that are not Florida. With that being said, that opens up some things. Because vehicles in the state of Florida that are ridiculously expensive are ridiculously cheap other places.
Literally Georgia.
Well, I mean, Georgia has some good deals, but I mean, C10s in Texas are half the price.
Yeah.
Model A's in California, half the price.
Even up north in Pennsylvania and everywhere up there, I don't know. I can't remember what all up there, but it seems like the prices up there in general are cheaper.
Yes.
Than down here.
Well, and Pennsylvania's kind of in the Rust Belt.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
yeah, you
might not get solid cars, but Arizona, Texas, California, most of those cars are going to be pretty solid.
Right.
I mean, a C10 is going to rust regardless, but because they all do in the same place.
Corner panels.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, you buy a C10 and you automatically, like, even before you go pick it up, you just go ahead and order those parts because they're going to be rusted. I mean, that's, Model A's cow panels. All vehicles have that, that caveat or whatever you want to call it. Like, they all have their little quirks.
Yeah.
And again, her car, even though it will be reliable and have creature comforts of some, it needs to, like it always has. I try to keep you in the most reliable vehicle in the yard.
Yeah.
If I'm stranded on the side of the road, that sucks. If you're stranded on the side of the road, I have to figure out why and figure out how to get you off the side of the road.
In 30 seconds or less.
Yes. That's how it's always worked. That's how my mom and dad did it. My dad always had the vehicles that were a little less reliable.
Yeah.
Unless they could both have a reliable vehicle, like we've made it to.
Yeah.
Knock on wood.
Well, in all fairness, too, even before when we didn't have one of our vehicles wasn't reliable, it was the one that I brought in from previous faulty decisions before even meeting you. So
yeah, but we made it as reliable as we could until it became impractical to make reliable and to keep running, and then it had to go.
Yeah. And
it did. And you ended up with your Equinox. Yep. And there's other options other than, obviously a C10 or that type vehicle is on our bucket list of builds. I want to build one, simple C10 style. But we may go somewhere and you may see a 30s or a 40s coupe that's like, wow, that's pretty gangster. Or a panel truck might get you. Like there's so many different avenues. We've been ate up with Model A's and 30s cars. So pretty much everything I've showed you is Model A or.
Yeah, but the big difference too is your Facebook is filled with the Model A's. My Facebook is filled with C10s.
Right.
So,
but I'm saying we go to shows.
Yeah,
we're mainly looking at C10s and Model A's. And I mean, we'll glance over, we'll appreciate a build,
right?
But basically, that's
our niche.
That's your world.
Yeah. And right now it's really focused in on Model A's too, because we're trying to get as many ideas as possible on, okay, how do we do the suspension? How do we do the steering? Where are we mounting this, that, whatever?
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be on a custom chassis, so fuel tank has to be considered, new pedal setup. If the 32 sticks around long enough, the 32 dash will be in the Model A, figuring out seats, figuring out trans tunnel, figuring out how much I'm going to have to raise the motor and the trans to be able to lay the frame. All of those things. And even cars that we don't want to do it the exact way they're doing it, you can still kind of get ideas on how it's going to look doing it their way. Double frame rails as opposed to, I don't want a double frame rail. I want one kick up in the front, and I want to hide as much of it as I can. There's so many different avenues that it can get convoluted. So speaking to the guy that has a car on jack stands in his garage or driveway or whatever, it's okay to get confused. Take a step back and think what you want, not necessarily what the guy down the street. You're not building, unless you are a shop, you're not building cars for customers.
Right.
I've told Ashley numerous times, I don't want to build cars for people. I love working on cars. I would love to build cars to sell them, but I want to build them my way.
Yeah.
And opening up a shop looks real good on paper. You make all this money and yada, yada, yada. But unless you have a guy that comes in and goes, I have a bag full of money and I want you to build the car the way you want to build it, you're never building your dream. You're building somebody else's. And it's not even really their dream. It's your interpretation of their dream.
Yeah.
So there's a chance at the end that they don't like it either.
Yeah.
And that sucks.
And we've talked to a few people about that specific scenario, and it's kind of like, well, now you've thrown all this money into it. You're not going to get that money out of it.
Oh, no.
Yes, it's worth more, but if you put $100,000 into a $20,000 car, it's not worth $120,000 now. I mean, maybe worth a little more than 20, but
Well, and there's a lot, and that's a lot in the restoration world, which we're not.
Right.
We're in the drivers. We're in the survivor cars. I like, we like what we like. I like for it to look like it drove there.
Yeah.
No, and there's different levels of that too. Like the 54 has rust holes and patina paint. It's a driver. Dad's 34 has shinier paint on it.
Yeah.
Not perfect paint, but it's shiny paint. It's still a driver. Ryan Gilmore, it's a driver.
Yeah.
Bears Mercury, the 32 he's building. Scott, a good example is Scott's Carryall.
Yes.
That is a beautiful, beautiful truck.
Did you see?
But it's a driver.
He moved that beautiful vehicle into his new shop.
Oh, I missed that. Congratulations on the new shop.
Yep. But his is he drove that thing to the gathering, then went home for like however long, and then turned around.
He didn't even go home.
Oh, he didn't go home.
He went and had a sandwich and then drove to Walmart to meet us to come do the podcast.
Yep.
And then drove it back to Citrus. Denellen, I think.
Denellen.
Yeah. But I mean, he drives that car, so there's different levels of drivers. But I mean, we joke shiny paint causes stress. It does. But if he didn't have anything going on and I said, hey, we're driving to so-and-so, he'd be there.
Yeah.
You know, that's a very good example of, you know, somebody that takes that seriously. Drive your shit. You know, get out and enjoy it.
Yep.
And I assume when he gets the other car here, I assume it'll be the same way.
Oh, yeah.
His wife will probably be driving the carryall because I think it's hers anyway.
Yeah.
But with that being said, you know, like everybody gets in where they fit in. If you're not into hot rods, on the live, Ryan Ball, said, well, does it have to be a hot rod? No, he's a mini truck guy, with some crazy ideas. I'll tell you later. But you know, what people call things have changed, but we're all doing the same thing. Mini truckers are just hot rodders with S10s, hard bodies, you know, like we're all doing the same stuff.
Yeah.
Hot rodders call it channeling. They call it body dropping. You know, they Z their frames. They just call it step notches. You know, the custom paint lowriders, you know, same thing. Hydraulics, sick paint. You know, everyone is doing the same thing. And even the new big wheel, little mud tire lifted trucks, little sidewall, mud truck or show trucks. They're just doing it the opposite. Instead of lowering stuff, they're jacking them up. They're still proud of their car, or they should be proud. I mean, they're dumping a lot of money into them cars, and you see those guys out
with their Bluetooth suspension or Bluetooth drive shaft.
That's getting better. If you're noticing, a lot of them are putting front drive shafts back in them. I appreciate that. But, you know, still, I mean, the suspension, you know, a lot of those straight axle, you know, obviously Chevy went away from the straight axle. Dodge and Ford was like, we'll keep it.
Bring it
on. Ford kept it in the 3/4 ton and 1 tons. And Dodge said, hold my beer, I'll keep it in all of them. But, you know, with the 4-link suspensions and powder coating and stuff like that, I mean, street rod. I mean, street rod was nice paint and custom touches. I mean, we're all doing the same thing. And yes, the podcast is called Hot Rod Hangout, but it's really anything that's a hot rod. You know, if you know, a good example, Johnny Jalopy bought that A. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. I don't completely believe that he's going to keep it stock, but his current plan for it is to lower it, put it on some yellow spokes, which I think he got the yellow spokes. I seen the picture of them, but lower it down a little bit, keep the running boards. He took the spare tire off, and it's going to be the 4-cylinder it came with. For now. And that's what he said. He said for now.
Yeah.
You know, unchopped, unchanneled, sitting on top of the frame with the running boards, and it's a very great example. The running boards aren't rusty, the fenders aren't cracked. All of those things that happen, that's what happens to Model A's, is the running boards break, because that's what it is. But he's out, and he's going to enjoy that car.
Yep.
Ryan has a Roadster that is flat-headed, traditional steering, traditional suspension, got accepted to Trog.
Yep.
That's cool.
Oh, yeah.
His coupe is on a Bowling Brothers 512 chassis, channeled, gray primer, cool.
Yeah.
The 54 is a completely, body-wise, is a survivor with a 5-speed S10 trans and a rear end. And it's slammed. The R29, when it's done, we'll lay the custom frame on the ground.
Yep.
With a small black Chevrolet. I mean, the neighbor has a dually that's jacked up on 22s or 24s.
Yeah, something like
26s, some big wheels on a dually. And he's got 10,000 lights on it.
He's got the sun.
He does. The other truck in that yard is a newer Dodge Ram. I missed one in our yard. We have a newer Dodge Ram 3/4 ton diesel. That's 8 inches up on big tires. His brother that lives not too far from us has two little, I think, a hard body and a Tacoma. Yeah. He had a dually that was laid out on bags. I mean, there's so many different avenues that you can find. And let me not forget Tim Stone that came to the cruise last month.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Pretty new Camaro with and that car was badass.
Yeah.
Not telling the internet because I don't know if the internet knows, but it was a little quick car, But he's out enjoying his car.
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to get across. It doesn't matter what you have, bring it out.
Yep.
I want to see it regardless. If you show up to our cruise in a C8 Corvette, I'm still going to go look at it. It's not like, oh, it's a hot rod. It's not a hot rod. I'm not going to. They're all hot rods.
Yeah.
The hot rod was just a blanket. We deal with those age of cars. That's what we like. That's what we have.
And I feel like, too, we've kind of put ourselves in this, little frame of time of what we want to build and stuff like that. But, even going through, I don't know why, but every time I drive down our road, that little Nissan truck, every time I pass it, I'm like, that would be such a cool little mini truck. Mm-hmm. If somebody slammed it, if they cleaned it up, the body's in good shape,
If the 32 body doesn't sell, that truck will probably end up either on a custom chassis or an S10 chassis that doesn't fit any amount of traditional, but they have the same wheelbase. Just throwing that out there. But it'll end up on an S10 chassis. Mm-hmm. Probably still keep the V6. Yeah. Probably steer. I mean, all the steering is there. I mean, it doesn't matter what you do. Just get out and enjoy cars, bikes. I mean, not everyone. There's not enough 32 Fords for everyone to own one. But really and truthfully, my opinion, I don't want a 32 Ford Coupe. The reason I wanted the 32 truck was because it's a 32, which is cool. Mm-hmm. It's iconic, but It's a truck.
Yeah.
It's not what everybody else has. Mm-hmm. We went to that little pop-up car show at the Chevy dealership. Mm-hmm. How many 32 Ford Coupes were there? 4 or 5.
Yeah.
How many of them were yellow? 3 or 4 of them. And I get that. That's an iconic movie car that people duplicate. The 70 Charger. Paint them orange, put a rebel flag on top of them. That's what they do. I get it. It's awesome. if that's the car you want, go get it.
Yep.
Eventually. On that same note, I'm not saying anybody's name, but I always ask all of the guests, what's one piece of advice that you would give someone trying to get into this car world? And I don't think I've ever gave my advice.
No.
My advice is, it doesn't matter where you want to end up. You have to start. Unless you have a bag full of money, you're not finding a 69 Lincoln Continental black on black on black convertible on 24 mob steels laying on the body. You're not going to start there.
Right.
Nor are you going to find a 69 Lincoln Continental that needs everything replaced and you're going to turn it into that. You have to start where you fit.
Yep.
If you are just learning, start with something simple. Know your limitations. And yes, there are ways to get help. I am the first one to tell you, I could weld. 75% chance it would be good weld. 100% chance it's going to be ugly. That's exactly what I told the gentleman I was speaking to today. He's like, what do you need help with? I said, I need help with welding because I designing the chassis to do what I want it to do and weld it. After that, I'll figure out the rest of it. But I don't know chassis layout for that type of car. Would it be really, really cool to have a flathead motor in a Model A? Yes. Do I know anything about a flathead? No.
I feel like you know more than you let on, but it's a matter of knowing.
I don't know what the inside of that motor looks like. So I'm not going to go buy a motor pretending to know what I know, what I'm doing. A small block Chevrolet, you grab a hold of it and turn it, and it turns. Well, good, and there ain't a hole. A good chance you can make it run. Maybe it needs heads, maybe it needs valve springs, but if it rotates smoothly, good chance there's nothing broken on the inside of it.
Yeah.
Flathead motor, I have no clue. I wouldn't even know where to start. So if you want that 69 Lincoln Continental, or you want that big boat Cadillac, or that badass LS powered wagon, or the dually that's bagged and bodied and shaved and, all of that, start with something in that same world. If you want a bagged body dually, go get you an S10. Go get you a hard body. Go get you, I'd stay away from Nissan Frontiers, but other than that, find something that has a following for what you're trying to do. S10, C10, whatever. Find something that has aftermarket support that you're not going to have to try to re-engineer the wheel on, and get started.
Yeah.
Drive it around statically lowered for a little while. You may figure out low life isn't for you. Or you may figure out the problem you have with being low could be alleviated by making it go up and down on air or hydraulics. You bag it and you might realize, this is stupid. And that's fine. But now you've figured it out. So I don't want that bag body dually anymore. So I didn't squirrel my pennies up for 50 years trying to afford that $60,000 dually. I figured it out with a $500 S10. Same with old cars. Old cars aren't for everybody. There is a inherent, you have to accept the fact that there is an inherent, it will break.
Yep.
It will piss you off. There's also, on that same note, if you're going to go wild with a motor that no one's seen before or doesn't applicate to your application very well, pick a motor that you can go to any auto parts store and get parts for. Unless, like Brian Koch said, you're in a group of hot rodders.
Yeah.
Or you're in a group of mini truckers that have that same stuff. Or know people where you're at that you can get that stuff. Because if we're cruising the A when it's done and distributor goes out, I just have to figure out a way to get to Advanced Auto Parts.
Yeah.
Or
an alternator goes out.
Alternator goes out. I just have to figure out how to get to Napa or Advance or whatever. Or probably any hillbilly that I come across and I go, hey, I need a GM single wire alternator. Especially for your first build. Or until you get in this world, you have to build what is available. Yes, I'm not taking this guy's build, but yes, putting a K series in a 20s or 30s car would be cool. But if you know nothing about Honda motors, probably not best to put that motor in there. He obviously knows because he's putting one on an airboat right now as we're recording. But so stick kind of with what you know or the friend group that you have. If you want a mini truck, find people with mini trucks. If you want a classic car, go to classic car shows, introduce yourself, and if you come correctly, those people are inviting you into their world. Now you have friends that you can call up and go, hey, I did this, and this, and the motor's running backwards. Or I put it in R for reverse, and I drove through my garage door. Why? Oh, well, because you got this backwards. I don't think you can do that, but with that Model A transmission you can because the shift pattern's backwards. But anyway, you can struggle a little, but make it easier on yourself because there's so many. You can open up Facebook Marketplace. You can go on eBay. Bring a trailer, and it's projects that are 80% done. And if you look at the ad close enough, I would say that same 80% of those 80 out of 100 cars that you find that are projects that have been abandoned, have been sitting for 5 years. They got to something that they couldn't figure out. Maybe it was they bought a motor thinking it was running, put it in, and it doesn't work. Maybe it's they don't know how to figure out suspension. Maybe they took it for a test drive and the drive shaft slapped out of it because it wasn't set. The pinion angle wasn't right. There's so many different things. You can find a lot of those cars that need pushed over the finish line.
Yeah.
So if you're just starting out and you got a little bit of paint and body work and you find that project that's done and it just needs paint and body work, buy it. Mm-hmm. Do the paint and body work on it. You now have a running, driving car, no matter what it is. Mm-hmm. And now you're in the game. Because somebody will want that car. And they might have a car you want. Or maybe it's not the car, but maybe it's a cooler car that you'd like to have for a little while. And then that car turns into the car that you want, or another cool car that you want to own. And eventually, you'll figure out that, hey, I'm a car and I like this, or this shit sucks. Stock was where it was at. You know, these car manufacturers built these cars a certain way. They perform that way. Mm-hmm. They have thousands and thousands of dollars and hours in figuring out how to make a car work the way it's supposed to. And then us, as hot rodders, mini truckers, rat rod builders, figure out every way to not do what they tell it to do and make it work the way we want it to work.
Yep.
Or not work the way it, all of those things. And there's also, we live in a time where the internet is so vast. A lot of the old forums are gone, mm-hmm. or not active. I don't want to say they're gone. They're not active anymore. But if you type in, my flux capacitor's not fluxing, and my muffler bearing went out, if you type that into Google, they'll tell you where the blinker fluid bottle is. There's so much information on the internet. So if you can't, and also it'll get you in a community. Mm-hmm. We will be parked with Florida Rats and Rods at Turkey Rod Run this year. Yep. We met him. I didn't even have the 54 when we met him. The first time. We were just at Turkey Rod Run.
Oh.
That was the first year we went. Me and you went to Turkey Rod Run. We didn't have the 54 at that time.
We met him that long ago?
Mm-hmm. We've only been there twice, baby.
I know, but it feels like...
So, and then last year, he offered a spot.
Yeah.
We had problems with the Airbnb. The car was there. Yes. The car did make it to Daytona. It just didn't make it off the trailer because of the Airbnb. Yeah. That 54, knock on wood, has not let us down yet. But, I met him on a handshake. Hey, you have a cool truck. Mm-hmm. And we talked for 15, 20 minutes, and he said, wait till next year.
Yep. And I took 150 mm-hmm. pictures of just his two vehicles over there.
And then he said, wait till next year. I got something coming out.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is it? He's like, you'll have to wait and see. And I was like, hell yeah. That's what I like to hear. And then last year, mm-hmm. it did not disappoint.
Nope. And he brought a friend.
He brought a bunch of people. There was a bunch of people there. The viral YouTube video of mm-hmm. the guy in a Roadster with a chopped windshield cutting off the stack off of his engine. That guy was there mm-hmm. with the stack back. But, he told the story. That was an awesome story.
Yeah.
But I met them on a handshake. And then, on Facebook, we were friends on Facebook. And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, we're getting a spot for Turkey. Are y'all going to, do y'all have something to put in here? I'm like, yeah. How many cars? I'm like, oh, it's not just like an invite. It's like an invite.
Bring your garage.
And we're waiting to hear.
Wait.
Currently, there'll be at least one of me and Ashley's cars there.
Yep.
But there potentially we might be bringing 2.
Maybe.
But I hope the A is done. But if it's not, 54 will be cruising with their floating rats and rounds. Because 54 is I mean, if someone wants it, I'll sell it to them. But we're gonna try not to sell that car until the Model A is done.
Yep.
And then it may not be for sale for a little while. We may do some stuff to it to make it a little better, and Ashley may fall in love with it. We may keep it, or it may go.
The one thing that gets me slightly is getting into the backseat of that car.
You can get back down.
Yeah, you can.
You just got to do one side at a time.
It's difficult. But, I don't know.
But we'll make that decision when we get there.
Yeah.
Nothing has to be set in stone. And that's another thing. And I know I've rambled for like an hour now. But that's another thing is the picture you have in your head when you start may not be the picture it is at the middle. And very good chance it won't be what it is in the end. Just because good enough. Not a big one for half-ass work, but you may have picture, I'll use a beautiful example. It was on Model A Mafia, I think. This guy's interior on this Model A sedan is absolutely breathtaking. Has AC, hidden. The controls are hidden. The vents are hidden.
Oh, the one you showed me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got engine turned inserts throughout, bead rolled, custom custom bomber seats that match the floor, that matches the door panels, that match everything. You may have in your head, like, that's what I want. You may get on a bead roller and go, no, I just want a circle around here to strengthen this up and mount it and call it a day. Because the sheer amount of hours. Or you may go, I want to go simple. And you may get on a bead roller and go, this ain't too bad. I'd like to spend the next 4 weeks bead rolling panels. There's so many different, you can get to a point in a build or a project where, no, we need to go the extra step. And then you may get to the point where it goes, okay, if I do that, it's going to take away from this. And no matter what, even car builders that do it for a living, every single one of them, if they honestly answer the question, will tell you what their focus is. I was listening to Henry from Steadfast today on the Roadster Shop podcast, Oil and Whiskey. And he was saying, like, he loves when guys get down on their hands and knees and look at the chassis and the exhaust setup. He channels everything. Mm-hmm. And he's mad as he's setting the body down. Because every bit of his work is the beautiful chassis.
Yeah.
He has jokingly said, like, if he is to ever wreck one of his hot rods, He wants the EMTs to get out and go, damn, that's a good looking chassis, as they're running up to save his life. Like, that's what, his chassis are beautiful. That's what he wants. Mm-hmm. If you build a blown anything, the rest of the car doesn't need to be over the top because it's got a blower. Mm-hmm. If you have a wild paint job, it doesn't need a blower. It doesn't need anything spectacular.
Right.
It's okay to have a focal point of, okay, my motor is bling. Mm. Or moving up into later stuff, mini trucks. Oh, the C-notch in the back, the bed floor, all of this. That's the focus of the build. Cantilever suspension, whether it's coil or whatever. Newer stuff. If you have a new truck and it's jacked to the sky and you got sparkle powder coating and 50,000 lights and this and that and this, you probably don't need to paint the truck 84 colors and do sick, nasty lowrider graphics on it. But there is a subsect of the car culture that does everything I just said. Mm-hmm. That's lowriders. Lowriders will 24 karat gold suspension parts, mm-hmm. and then also put 84 different colors and candies, and then hop the ever-loving dog shit out of it with leather interior and just gangster 13-inch wire wheels. Yeah. So you can do the bare minimum. What I'm trying to get at is you can take a factory-built car that only has its old going for it, and it's cool. Mm-hmm. You can take and lower it, and it's cool. You can take and lift it. Not our cup of tea, but it's still cool. Mm-hmm. And there's a whole section of hot rods called high boys. That's the whole point. Leave the body on the frame, not lowering them. They're still cool. All the way up, for the longest time, I didn't like long beds. But a long bed laying on the ground, killer. A long bed 8 foot in the sky, killer. My opinion. 4-door cars are starting to become popular. Partially because the 2-door cars have all been taken. Or chopped up or hacked up or, Yeah. Which is great. Everyone. I don't care what genre or what avenue you want to take. There is something cool about 90% of the cars. Mm-hmm. And even the 10% of cars that came from the factory that aren't cool, you could do stuff to make them cool.
Right.
Never enough. The Geo Tracker. Probably one of the, you've seen it, the custom mini truck with the 84 NOS bottles and the 4 blowers and the
orange
6
thing?
Yeah.
Oh.
The guy that put a V8 in a PT Cruiser or a jet engine in a PT Cruiser. You can make anything cool.
Yeah.
My opinion is anything that lays on the ground is cool. And if you ever want to test that theory, pick a car that you don't like stock height, type it into Google, and put bagged.
What's that new car that you keep saying you want me to get, but I don't
Santa Cruz.
Yeah. Oh, bless
I don't want to bag that, though.
I know you
I
don't.
want to build a pre-runner out of it. Put it on, like, little 31s.
That's
31s would look huge on it.
That's a whole nother conversation.
Smart car with a Hayabusa motor.
Oh, gosh.
You know, but again, that's the off-the-wall builds.
Yeah.
A smart car with a Hayabusa motor is kind of getting mainstream now. There's a whole bunch of them out there. Yeah. But there's not a lot of lifted Santa Cruzes yet.
No, there's not.
There's a reason. But
anyway.
You know, we were unfortunate. We didn't get the Ute. And that's basically a Ute.
Wow. It is what it is. It's all good.
So. So the end result is Ashley wants to do a smart car when we get done.
Oh, sweet. No. Nope. I'll flick them off the road.
You'll be driving it, so you can't flick it off the road if you're in it.
I'll get off it and push it off the road.
You'll get off of
it? Yeah.
You're not even going to sit in it?
Nope, can't fit.
If Joey can, you can.
I don't know.
No, that's just get out and drive your shit, no matter what it is. And you all have to start. We all have to start somewhere. Mm-hmm. You know, I would love a big boat Cadillac. The build that I described with the Lincoln Continental, I would love that car. My bank account says that I can't get that car anytime soon. No. You know, and I know that.
But
so I have a driver 54 that gets me places, and I get thumbs up, and some people look at it funny, and that's cool to me. The Model A is going to be the same way.
Yep.
You know, we build cars that I want you to question if I'm going to be able to make it home in.
54 is questionable.
The 54 makes me question it, so it should make you question it. I'm just kidding. Like, again, that car, it's, you know, it's got rust. It's original paint. It's all of that. But it has made it back to the yard every time except for the first drive we ever took in it.
Yep.
And that wasn't its fault. It was the alternator. So,
yep. Oh, yeah.
You know, the car didn't break down. The alternator went out.
Yeah.
And I just didn't realize it because there's no gauge that says it wasn't charging.
There's no.
And I got excited.
Functioning working.
And I got excited and wanted to drive it. I should have tested all of that, but I didn't. So we drove it, and
it's okay.
It was garbage.
I was stuck on the side of the road, but you were there with me, so it's all good.
I was driving it, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I mean, that's going to happen.
Yeah.
If you're in this, new cars break. I don't care what it is. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's thousands of cars that get bought brand new off the lot, and they have to return because something ain't right.
Yep.
And those are 2024s. You know, we're dealing with 95-year-old cars. There's going to be problems.
Yeah.
But it's a chance to work on it. It's a chance to learn and improve. You know, you can make improvements to a 95-year-old car. You know, there's been a lot of suspension updates. There's been a lot of engine upgrades. There's been, you know, that 4-cylinder probably makes 50 horse. You know? Yep. And now 4-cylinders make 200 horse from the factory.
Yeah.
And get crazy fuel mileage. And can do the speed limit. So. Well, guys, we're going to hop off of here. Till next time, make sure you go check out Swap It Fast, connecting buyers with sellers before, during, and after events.
Yep. And don't forget to check out Throttle Attic using code word HOTROD and you get save 15% off.
Whoop, whoop. And one last segment that we're going to add to the show.
Yes. Don't forget, on the 19th of this month, we do have our cruise. We're going to be meeting in the Napa Auto Parts parking lot here in Bushnell. And this month we're going to Coney Island and Brooksville.
Yes, ma'am.
Also that same weekend, we have the 10th annual Made of Steel show at the Hernando County Fairgrounds. That's the 17th through the 19th. They're doing the big 3-day event. And then also Friday night, if you're in the Inverness area, they have a little cruise into. We're going to get all the details on that.
Yeah, we're going to go check it out. This will be our first time going just to check it out. Get out and support, other people trying to do what we're doing.
Yep.
And maybe get some of them cars to come cruise with us on Sunday.
Yep.
Well, till next time, guys, get out and drive your shit.
See ya.